A man in his 40s from America impregnates 4 beautiful Omani sisters. An incredible miracle. Have you ever stumbled upon a secret so outrageous, so surreal, that it makes you question whether you've stepped into a dream or a nightmare? That's how I felt the moment I saw the ultrasound photos. 4 different women, 4 matching due dates, and one unmistakable detail that connected them all: me. I wasn't supposed to fall in love. I wasn't even supposed to be in Oman that long. But what began as a harmless escape turned into a chaotic miracle, tangled in silk scarves, whispered prayers, and forbidden passion. And it all started with a single glance across a courtyard. My name is Daniel Carter, 42 years old, born and raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I used to be a structural engineer with a knack for solving puzzles. Bridges, towers, blueprints. But in my personal life, total chaos. After my divorce at 38, I needed a reset. Somewhere far from icy sidewalks and custody battles. That's how I ended up in Muscat, Oman, consulting on a modern architecture project that blended ancient arabesque tradition with cutting-edge design. I rented a quiet villa in Kurram Heights, near a palm-lined stretch of beach. I wasn't looking for anything but peace. No dates, no drama. Just call to prayer echoing over sand dunes and jasmine tea at sunset. But fate doesn't care about your intentions. The sisters lived next door. 4 of them. Their family was respected, well-off, deeply rooted in tradition. Their father, Sheikh Hamd, was one of the project's primary investors. Their mother had died years earlier, and the sisters ran their home like a quiet empire behind carved wooden gates and embroidered curtains. There was Amal, the eldest, 31, with sharp eyes and a voice like velvet. Then came Layla, 28, playful and rebellious. Noor, 25, was the shy one, always sketching flowers in the margins of her notebooks. And the youngest, Yasmin, barely 22, radiant and fierce, as if the sun kissed her every time she walked outside. I first met Amal during a construction site briefing. She challenged my ideas. Blunt, articulate, mesmerizing. Then, a week later, Layla passed me a note folded into a date at the neighborhood market. Noor brought me pomegranate juice one evening, hands trembling. Yasmin stormed into my villa during a blackout, demanding I fix the generator, and stayed for hours, arguing about poetry. I didn't pursue them. Not at first. But I didn't resist either. Started subtly. Touch lingered too long. A glance held just a second more than appropriate. Amal and I spoke often. About design, philosophy, the quiet sadness of being the oldest and expected to marry strategically. One night, we were reviewing floor plans at her home. A monsoon storm rattled the windows. She handed me tea, her fingers brushing mine. "You're too quiet for an American," she said. I laughed. "You're too bold for an Omani." That was the first kiss. With Layla it was different. She was fire, impulsive and intense. She'd sneak onto the construction site just to leave lipstick marks on my hard hat. One night she led me through the dunes under moonlight, whispering that she wanted to feel dangerous. Noor was gentle, always watching me from behind her sketchbook. She left poems by my door, written in Arabic and translated softly when I asked. I remember holding her hand by the fountain as she whispered, "I don't want to be invisible anymore." And Yasmin was a storm I never saw coming. She challenged me, baited me, dared me to want her. One afternoon, while I was fixing the fuse box in their courtyard, she stood close, too close. "You like being needed," she said, eyes locked to mine. I knew it was wrong. All of it. I tried to stop. I distanced myself. I scheduled extra shifts, volunteered for travel. But every time I tried to pull away, something pulled me back. Until the day Amal showed up at my door, hands shaking. "I need to talk," she said. She was pregnant. Froze. I said all the wrong things. Panic, apology, offers to help. Then 2 days later Layla appeared. Same news. I thought I was losing my mind. A week later Noor. And finally Yasmin. All 4. Pregnant. Due in early December. And all claimed me as the father. I spiraled. Could it be coincidence? Some biological freak accident? Were they conspiring? Testing me? Or was this some divine joke? I begged each of them to come clean, but none of them knew about the others. That night, I locked myself in my villa and stared into nothing. How had I become the center of this impossible orbit? The confrontation happened on a Friday afternoon. I had summoned the courage to speak with Sheikh Hamd. I expected fury. I expected exile. Maybe worse. But what I got instead was silence. He sat across from me, face unreadable, a string of black prayer beads in his hand. I already know, he said. My heart stopped. You what? I've known for weeks. My daughters tell me more than you think. I tried to speak, but the words dried in my throat. He stood, walked to the window, and looked out over the city. What you did was reckless, irresponsible, but not unforgivable. Forgivable, I repeated, stunned. You don't understand our culture. But my daughters, they are not weak. They chose you. That matters. And it is not entirely your fault. They were raised in a cage. You were the only man they ever saw with wings. I felt tears burning in my eyes. Not from guilt, but from the sheer, crushing weight of it all. I want to do right by them, I said finally. I don't know how, but I want to try. He turned to me, slow, deliberate. You will stay, he said. You will help raise these children. But not as a husband. What do you mean? They will live as sisters, not as wives. The shame must be quiet. The miracle loud. You may see them, help them, love the children, but never claim them. The word stung. Not for me, but for them. For the 4 women who had given me their hearts, their bodies, their trust. And now they would be mothers, silenced by culture, hidden by honor. But maybe this was the only way. When the children were born, 2 girls, 2 boys, I was there. I held each of them. I kissed each forehead. Amal's son had my eyes. Noor's daughter had my hands. Yasmin's boy screamed like a fighter. Layla's girl stared at me like she'd known me forever. I didn't know what to call this life now. I wasn't a husband. Not really a father, not in public. But I was there. Every day. Quietly. Fully. Years have passed now. The children know me as Uncle Daniel. I take them to school. I teach them to swim. We build sandcastles in the shape of mosques and dragons. I never married again. I never left Oman. The sisters. They've found their own rhythm. They don't speak of what happened. Not out of shame, but because some things are too sacred for words. Sometimes I catch them watching me with soft, knowing eyes. We share memories in silence. The world would call it scandal. Call it a strange kind of grace. For women who chose me. For lives born from something reckless, messy, and deeply human. People think infidelity is about betrayal. Sometimes it's about hunger. For freedom. For connection. For something real. I won't justify what I did. But I won't regret it either. Because when I look at those children laughing barefoot in the garden, I see more than my mistakes. I see a miracle. And miracles, I've learned, rarely follow the rules.